One, question one. It's a great case study. I know Lavui personally. I met him a few years back, and he is a great person, and he has also done exceptionally well in terms of his business. It's a small business that he started few years back, many years ago, after he realized that there was a need for this type of service, both a sort of service where people can come and print their CVs and so a print shop, but also a opportunity for people to learn and have access to quality sort of IT education as well. So he's a good guy, but he's also a very good entrepreneur as well. So the case studies, I'm quite excited for the case study to be on him, and also for people to get to know him and also his business. And hopefully, I would encourage you to spend quite a bit of time reading up about the business and listen to he's got a couple of talks on YouTube as well, where he was speaking at different conferences. So please feel free to, if you want to answer some of the leadership questions specifically, I would encourage you to sort of listen to some of his speeches and some of the stuff that he did on YouTube. All right, so saying that, 1.1. As the business grew, Lavui needed to ensure that he continues to keep abreast with changes in the business environment and within the context, analyze the remote or macro environment and apply any three of the sub-environmental factors. So you most probably know that the remote environment consists of the pestle factors, which is technological, ecological, political, economic, and cultural. Out of these, the easier ones to sort of focus on is the economic environment. And when we talk about the economic environment, please make sure that when you pick something, understand the impact on the business. So if you pick something like interest rates, if you pick things like low economic growth, if you pick things like unemployment, then make sure that you make sure that you point it at the business. Make sure that you understand or make clear the impact that it has on the business. Another one is things like the culture is a difficult one. A technological environment, definitely, considering the type of business, and then possibly legislation, possibly political or / legislation environment. So when I look for a analysis, so it's for 15 marks. When I look for the analysis, I always look for these four things. I look for you naming it, and then second of all, you telling me the impact on the business. The third thing is the response of the business, and then you indicate, is this a strength or weakness, or in this case, it's a remote environment. So you will say, is this a opportunity or a threat? Or you can also say, so you name it. First, you explain what it is. You explain the impact on the business, and then you explain the response of the business. Sorry, let me do that again. You name it, you explain it, you explain the impact it has on the business, and then you explain the response of the business. That is really how you do an environmental analysis. You name it, you explain what it is, the impact it has on the business, and how does the business respond or should respond, has responded, is responding, based on the evidence from the case study and also your research. Pestle analysis, students really find it difficult to do pestle analysis. They really find it difficult to do it properly and get the maximum marks on that. Does that make sense? Question 1.1. Any questions on that before I move on to question 1.2? Anyone? Cameron? Good. So question 1.2, briefly discuss the ways in which Luvuyo can continue to learn to manage his business successfully. That you will have to look up yourself. Sorry, Katharina. You'll have to have a look. I'll tell you chapter 1 to make it easier, but it's in chapter 1, yes. Question 1.2, how can he learn to manage his business more successfully? So this really sort of slots in towards the end of chapter 1, where we talk about management training. My apologies, chapter 2 for question 1.1.2, and it deals with sort of management development, management training, and practical experience. And I can tell you that knowing Luvuyo, he has spent quite a bit of time in developing and growing his business skills through further study. So that is really what I'm looking for there. You can find evidence of that, and you can also make further recommendations as to what he can study, and especially with the current context of AI, possibly that would be an opportunity for him to further educate himself. And then question 1.3, it deals with management levels, and it deals with the functional manager, the human resource manager. Discuss the level of management that the HR manager represents and the associated responsibilities at this level of management. This is also in chapter. Can you guys see this? If I punch in like that, can you see? Is that a bit better? So when we look at human resource management, like logistics, like finance, like any of these functional heads, they are what we call middle management. They're part of the C-suite. They sit in the middle part of the organization. And they're the ones that distribute and move information through the business downward. And they're also responsible for moving information and reporting information upwards. They're the ones that takes complex instructions from top level management, take that complex instructions, simplify that instructions, and pass those instructions down to the lower level management in order for that to be executed. So in terms of the question which talks about HR managers, what are their roles? Where in the organization are they? They're in middle level. And what are their roles? They do things like they're responsible for implementing policies, plans, strategies. Managerial titles are usually things like functional heads, a marketing manager, and so forth. And then in terms of the textbook goes in further and describe it. They're responsible for organizational departments. They implement policies, plans, and strategies. You see, they implement it, and which is formulated by top management. So if we look back at the question again, the question is asking for 10 marks. Discuss the level of management that the HR manager represents. So the first part you'll answer by saying it is middle management, and then associate responsibilities at this level of management. Then you'll spend possibly so it's 2 plus 2 plus 8, possibly for 8 marks. You will then go into an explanation of the type of responsibilities, and it's important. The application is important, guys. For at the second year level, at the NQF 6 level, at second year, the expectation is that you don't just copy and paste the theory over from the textbook or from a written piece of work, but you then apply it to the case study. So it'll say that within Lulu, within the case study, or within the context of the case study, the HR manager would be responsible for these type of things. Within the context of this business, the HR manager would be responsible for employing these type of people, for developing and training these type of people, and etc. That is very specific to the context as well. And that is the application that I'm looking for. It's not just about copying and pasting things over from the textbook. Are you comfortable with question 1? Awesome. Thank you very much, Cameron. Now we've got a couple of long questions. When I say long questions, we're talking about sort of 15 mark, 10 mark questions, which is not as straightforward and as easy to answer, because it's not just about answering the question, as I said earlier, about taking the theory and then just reproducing it and putting it down straight from your textbook. It's about answering the question specific to the context in which the question is being asked. So if you look at question 2.1, 2.1 asks, upon deciding to expand it, Louis had to consider whether it was the right move. This led Louis to better understand his role as a business owner and manager, analyze the business skills needed by Louis to ensure that his growth is managed effectively, ensure that he discuss all 3 skill levels. All right. So if we look at chapter for 1.3, Katharina, for 1.3, it is still chapter 2. So when we look at the three different skill levels, it talks skill, not skill levels, or the different groupings of skills. They talk about technical skills, team building skills, and drive. Technical skills would be the type of things that you would need to run your business on a day-to-day basis. So if we look at the context of Louis, he runs an IT-related business. So you would assume and think that you would have specific skills related to IT, and also specific skills related to IT training and so forth. So those are the technical aspects of it. Then a team building aspects of it is the people management aspect of it. How well does he coordinate? How well does he cooperate? How well does he solve problems with teams and working with other people? So technical skills are the things that he does. Team building skills are the things that he does it with other people. And then, so whereas technical skills are skills, team building is about relationships. Drive is about the internal view, the what is the thing that drives Louis? What is his purpose, his higher purpose? What is the thing that motivates him? So things like setting performance, control of details, the energy that he possesses, and also how does he exert pressure. So that's the theory. Now the question is, what is the question asking you to do? It says analyze the managerial skills needed by Louis to ensure this growth is managed effectively. Ensure that you discuss all 3 skill categories. So if you follow the T principle, T being theory, explanation, application, it would sound something like this. You'll say, according to a textbook author, technical skills can be defined as, and it includes things like technical expertise, etc., etc. So that's the theory. Then you go into explanation of that theory, and then you'll go further. In the case of Vuyo, it would include things like, and then that's the application. So the T principle is theory, explanation, and application. And for 15 marks, it is 5 marks for each category of skills. And the application is what drives your answer. The application is what is going to set your answer apart from just a copy and paste answer from the textbook. And I'm going to keep on repeating that because it's a great case study, but all of the questions revolve and is based on the case study. So that is question 2.1. So now let's move on to question 2.2. Luvuyo has been approached by an international investor to buy Silulu. This has led to concerns among the staff that these changes will affect their jobs. Advise any 5 methods to deal with resistance to change. So according to your textbook, there is different ways. One is education and communication, participation and involvement, facilitation and support, negotiation and agreement, manipulation and co-option, explicit and implicit coercion. This is one of those questions where I would strongly suggest that you do a bit of extra research because there is, other than what is noted in your textbook, you'll find that if you do a bit of research on Google Scholar, you'll find there are quite a bit of authors, quite a bit of work done and research done around this issue of change and change management. So I would strongly suggest that you do a bit of additional research. You don't just need to write down and apply what's in the textbook. I would also go so far as to look at what is available in terms of the literature. All right. And this is chapter. Can anybody give Katerina a chapter number? All right. Can you guys still hear me? Just give me a thumbs up because my lights has just gone out. All right. Workforce motivation, change management is chapter 5. Great. So change management is chapter 5, and you guys can still hear me. Great. So let's move on. Katerina, you got that? Change management 2.2 is in chapter 5. Awesome. Question 3. Question 3. Using the Luvuyo as context, describe the trait theory and comment on the traits exhibited by Luvuyo. Now, these two questions over 25 marks deals with leadership, and the leadership chapter is chapter 19. It's called Principles of Leadership. It's Learning Unit 3, and it's a wonderful chapter. It goes through great length to sort of delve into the different leadership theories and the key research sort of research units and the key researchers that has contributed towards the field and our understanding of different types of leadership and also how leadership has evolved over time. So when we talk about the trait theory of leadership, it is one of the earlier types of leadership theories, and it really was about understanding what are people like. So the theories that consider the personality, the social, physical, and intellectual traits of different leaders. And essentially what this leadership theory said is that these are the traits, try to be like those traits, And if you follow those closely, then you will be a leader. There are some issues with trait theory, and I want to see those issues come through. When I say issues, specifically criticism of the trait theories of leadership, and that is what I want to see in your answer as well. And what I want to see in your answer is to suggest, even though the question in your answer as well. And what I want to see in your answer is to suggest, even though the question isn't asking it, but what I want you to do is go further. And what I want to see in your answer is to talk about the trait theory and apply it to Lavuyu. But then also I want you to go further than that and start bringing in some of the more appropriate theories, especially things like, and I can give you a hint, things like transformational theories, things like servant leadership, and so forth. And almost say that the trait theories, based on the trait theories, these are the application to Lavuyu. However, some of the more contemporary theories would be a better fit for Lavuyu in terms of his context that he's finding himself in. Does that make sense, guys? I know that sounds a bit sort of a bit confusing. So let me just repeat that quickly. So not only do I want you to talk through the trait theory, the actual theory, but also what I want you to talk to is potentially recommend some of the more contemporary theories like transformational theory, like servant leadership, and so forth, that might be more appropriate for Lavuyu. All right. And then the age-old question, discuss whether Lavuyu is a manager or a leader or both, and justify your choice. This is always a good question. However, it is a bit of a moot point, because in successful organizations, you find that good managers are also good leaders, not great leaders. And that is the fundamental difference. When we look at great leadership, that is leaders that excel. These are leaders that operate at a very high level of autonomy. These are leaders that are visionary. These are leaders that generally lead the organization. And your executive team and your CEO must be leaders. They must be able to inspire followers. They must be able to inspire the organization. And you find that to a lesser degree are they good managers, because they don't necessarily have to be. However, good managers can be if they learn how to be a good leader. And you need both. Sometimes you need both in one person, and sometimes you need both in two separate people that sort of where the one leads the business and the other one runs the business. Does that make sense? The one sometimes has to lead the business, inspire followers, and the other one has to run the business and make sure the day-to-day activities are done. And Lavuyu is both. I can tell you he's a very good leader. He's very inspirational. He's very charismatic. He is very good at inspiring others. And the fact that his business is still running, the fact that he's successful, means that he must be a good manager. He must be able to do the day-to-day stuff, that boring stuff that's not so sexy, that stuff that nobody really sees. He must be doing that well, because his business is still running and is successful. Alternatively, he could have employed people that are very good at that. And that is also a mark of a good leader, is the ability to know what they're not good at and being able to employ people and surround themselves with other people that can fill their gaps. Great. And now we come to the essay, which is your final question, question 3. The essay is, it's roughly about 800 to 900 words. I'll be comfortable with 1,000 words, but not more than that. Please, not more than that. It's an interesting question, but it's not really a question where you will need to write long reams and reams. So it consists of a breakdown. There is a rubric. So your structure. So when they say structure, a clear introduction, a clear conclusion, spelling, and then 15 marks for content, which talks to application as well. So it says discuss how Laverne can use reinforcement theory to ensure staff stay motivated in the workplace. The essay consists of a couple of things. So the first part of the essay deals with motivation. So I want you to tell me what it is and define it, motivation. The next part is tell me why is motivation important in the workplace. So that's 1, 2, and then you lead in with that into the reinforcement theory, in which you tell me what that is, and then you apply it, application, then you apply it to Silolo technologies, Silolo Luto, Tech, SUT, and then finally, right at the end, you can do alternatives. So I'm looking for alternatives. So just like the leadership theories, the reinforcement theory of motivation is not there's a few other motivational theories that might be a lot more appropriate. I'm not going to tell you which ones, but there's others that are a bit more appropriate, and that's what I'm looking for. This is chapter 20. This is what I'm looking for, is not just telling me what reinforcement theory is and applying it. You then looking at it and go, okay, so that's reinforcement theory, but possibly in this particular context, this particular theory might be better. Maybe theory X and theory Y might work better. Maybe Maslow's might work better. Maybe Skinner's theory might work better, and so forth. So the way I want you to structure your essay is to first talk about motivation, then tell me why having motivated employees in your organization is important. You then define the reinforcement theory. You then apply that reinforcement theory to SUT. You then look forward and you look at alternatives. Say that, yes, the reinforcement theory can work. However, here is maybe another more appropriate theory for this particular context. All right, does that make sense, guys? This is recorded, so you can switch back to it to listen to it again if you might have missed something. Is there any questions? It's a very nice assignment. It consists of some very nice questions. The questions are all sort of long, 10 marks, 15 marks, which does make a difference. So it's not very long, like 20 marks, 30 marks. It is sort of medium-sized questions that allows you to write enough, be able to answer the question sufficiently and in depth without needing to answer it across 5 pages. You only need, for 10 marks, you only need a page and a bit at the most. So you'll be able to work out very quickly how you can answer these questions. Some of the questions will be less than a page. And again, this is rule of thumb. And other questions might be longer than a page. All right. Excellent. Guys, thank you very much to everybody that has taken the time to join. Cameron, Katharina, and Diesel. Is in terms of all of the resources that you have, please let me know if there's anything that you need in addition to what I've uploaded. And good luck with this assignment. It's a nice assignment. Get stuck into it this week and sort of do a bit of extra research. What I reward normally is I reward students that have done research outside of the textbook, because that shows to me that one, they've put in a bit of effort, and also two, that they show a deeper understanding of the theory. This particular course is very theory heavy, as you've most probably have seen. It is exceptionally theory heavy, and but it's also a very interesting course. It sort of sits between management practice and and industrial psychology, and it sits in the middle. So we not only learn what the management process is, we not only spend time understanding management in context of the environment, but we also spend quite a bit of time on all of the key elements of organizational psychology, things like leadership, things like motivation, organizational change, decision making, things like um, communication, things like understanding change management. So that is what makes the course so interesting. Awesome. Guys, have a wonderful evening, and we will connect again. If there's anything that you need, you can always drop it on the WhatsApp or email me as well. Have a lovely evening, guys. Alrighty. Cheers.